Alright, and today we are back on the Axis bike. This is the M200, basically the same thing as a CT200UEX. This has the 196cc engine. We did get this up and running in the last video, which I will link or make a playlist for you guys so you can check that out. This does have a couple of mods on it. It does have a 22mm carb and an exhaust on it. The governor has been deleted, not internally, but just disconnected. Really, that's about it on this bike. It is super clean. It's in really good shape. But there is one thing I'm still struggling with on here, and that is that this bike runs a bit rough. It does seem like at about mid-throttle, it has kind of a flat spot, and also at idle, it is getting really, really rich. It's actually kind of puffing out some black smoke. So we're going to try to tune this carb today. I got a jet kit for this, and I think originally we had a 36 Pilot, and the main jet in here, we couldn't find a number on it. And I know this has been messed with before, so we're going to try to figure out the proper jetting for this. And I also did find out that it had a air leak between the manifold and the cylinder head. I have since fixed that with just a new gasket. But other than that, we are sitting pretty good with this bike, and I want to see how it does for top speed. So let's get this in the shop. We'll see if we can get that carb tuned, and we'll take it out for a ride. All right, we're going to see how this thing starts up on a cold start so you guys can see it, and you'll hear how that new exhaust sounds on here. This was the super cheap Amazon one that was on here, and the other one I put on is also from Amazon, but at least has the muffler. But yeah, this thing was just obnoxious, and did not like it. Well, hopefully the camera picks it up. It is puffing out a little bit of some black smoke. You guys can see it when you give it a little throttle. We're just going to dive right into here. I've got a 115 main, and I have I believe a 32 Pilot that we're going to throw in here. We're going to run the air mixture screw in all the way, and then we're going to go out 1.5 turns. I'll show you guys all that, and then we'll just see where it's at and try to dial in the fine tuning. All right, so I'm just going to pull off the fuel line here. I'm going to get it up above the tank so it's not leaking. Just gonna take off the 4 screws on the bottom. All right, last screw coming out. Should be super easy just to drop out the Pilot. All right, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to put back in the 36 because the kit that I ordered, apparently these idle jets, they don't fit in there. They're a little bit larger in diameter towards the bottom. Now it does look like the thread size is the same, but it's not going to work. I tried to modify it a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and just pull out the main on here. I'm just going to grab a hold of the nut and then just back out the jet. So we got our jet loose. And I'm curious how big this jet is because there was no numbers on it. And it's hard to compare by eye as far as the hole size, but we're going to at least put our 115 in there. That way we know what we're working with. All right, well, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to tune this because we couldn't get the idle jet. So what you would want to do normally is get this up and running. You can run your air fuel mix screw out. You want to listen for your RPMs basically to get to their highest points. Once you go out too far, you'll actually hear the idle kind of go back down. So you want to find that in between where it's at its highest, and once you do that, then you would just adjust your idle to where that sounds good. But we should be good hopefully with that 115 in here, and we'll see how everything's running now. We can finally take this out, at least test it, see what our top speed is with just the VM22, the exhaust on here and the governor delete. I'm guessing probably close to 40, but we'll see. So we'll go ahead, crank it up, see how it sounds. I'll throw you guys on the chest mount, and we'll go take this thing for a spin. So far, it already feels really responsive, so. Alright, so we hit 30 right off the bat, and it definitely feels like it is just cutting out at mid to higher RPM, so we may end up just going ahead and putting that 120 jet in there. We'll see what it'll do and see how it reacts to that, and if we need to, then we can move that that needle in the slide as well. Alright, round 2 with the 120 jet. Alright, it was cutting out at higher RPM on the 120, so we may have gone the wrong direction with that. We'll end up, I'm just going to throw a 110 in there and see what that one will do. Alright, we're going to try for round 3 with the 110 jet. Alright, 110 feels much better. right, the 110 jet feels good, but honestly, it still seems like it's cutting out a little bit at the very top end. I don't know if it's starving for fuel, so I think what we'll do is just raise up the needle on the slide or drop it down one. That way it'll add a little bit more fuel and we can try that. All right, and just to show you guys what I'm talking about on the needle clip here, this is usually for your mid to full throttle on your slide. We're gonna pull the spring back on here, take our cable loose spring. We can leave all this stuff just sitting to the side. And then on the inside, just be careful because there is a little spring in here. You can push up. We're gonna get that spring out of the way. And then we have our needle right here. So what we're gonna do, mine is, remove this washer. So mine is right in the middle. Now what we wanna do in order to increase our fuel a little bit is we are going to drop this one down a notch, and what that's going to do is actually pick the needle up a little bit. So as you come up with your slide, it's going to pull this up a little bit higher and let a little bit more fuel go. So we just need to pop off this clip, drop it down one, and then reassemble. You guys saw how it came off. Alright, well 31, give or take probably a mile or two an hour for the GPS, seems to be our max with our exhaust, our tuned carburetor, and the governor delete. I know some people may have some different results, but you guys are seeing it firsthand on here. Now I think the biggest limitation we've got is the valve spring is keeping us back from higher RPM. I think we're getting a ton of valve float, and obviously we don't want to crank that stock flywheel up too much either, because those things, the magnets will let go. Now I would like to get some upgraded springs and a better flywheel just to see what that can do for us and kind of go from there. But I also have the option of putting a 212 on here because I've got a new one in box. So you guys let me know, should we keep trying to modify the 196 on here or put a 212 on it? Because I have the Motovox frame, which we could either put this engine on or we could do the 212 on that one. But I feel like with a bigger frame, the 212 would be a better choice for what we're trying to do with this bike ultimately. All right, and I do have a torque converter that we can put on the 196, or we can end up using on the 212, whichever one we go with on here. But you know, definitely want to upgrade the valve springs and at least the flywheel for now. That way it's a lot safer. We don't drop a valve or end up blowing up that magnet on the flywheel. But you know, at least we got this thing up and running good, and we kind of know where it's at. I do have a draggy on the way as well, so we can get accurate 0 to 30 times, and we can get accurate top speed times. And we've got a ton of projects coming up. I've got, you know, a couple of these bigger bikes. We've got the FRP and we have the Motovox bike. So we've got plenty of mods and projects we can keep working on. So I greatly appreciate you guys checking out the channel, and stay tuned for more. Catch you guys in the next one.